Hey, Crystal, want to go on a hike?
Yeah, actually, camping. What's the difference between camping, hiking, all that other stuff? I know when I was a Girl Scout troop leader, I made it clear that we are not a camping troop back in the
Why?
day. I didn't know. I just didn't like it at first. But now that I'm older, being outside makes my dreams come true. But my earlier
I
years,
I was all about camping growing up because my
not
parents
me.
liked it.
Oh, see?
And I haven't been camping in a long time and I would love to go again. But backpacking, you can do both at the same time. You can hike and camp.
That makes sense. Yeah, I'd never been camping growing up, just once. But yeah, it was a trip I didn't even want to go on. It was some random trip. So that wasn't
No,
my experience.
and it didn't go well.
It didn't. No.
Oh, we're going to
Oh
change
well.
that,
But
Crystal.
now, yeah, I love it now. The thought of it now. Oh yeah. Glamping too. Oh yeah.
Oh,
Please.
Crystal and I are talking about taking a trip into the Appalachians next year and maybe do some hiking. That'll be fun, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Today, we're taking you up among the clouds in beautiful Colorado with a man who I've known for a number of years as a personal finance writer. But in this interview, we're going to
Yeah.
talk about his brand new memoir on hiking the Colorado Trail. Well, what is that? What do you need to know to be a great hiker? We'll chat all things hiking and backpacking with today's adventurer, Darrow Kirkpatrick.
Woohoo, I'm excited to hear from him. And then at the end of this episode and every episode, you'll hear our gear of the day pick. So if you're looking for best in class gear that's worth the price, I want you to head on over to our Amazon page at stackingadventures.com/gear of the day or GOTD. You'll help the show and you'll help yourself adventure better and for less money. Let's get this show on the road.
Ready for adventure? From vacation to staycation, and from the mountains to the beach. This is the Stacking Adventures podcast.
Welcome back, adventurers, to the Stacking Adventures podcast. This is where we head around the world with our adventure community. Every adventure has a story. Crystal has a story. I have a story. I'm Joe Salsihai.
And I'm Crystal. Wow, you said it back. You threw me off.
I did.
Totally
I
threw me
actually
off.
introduced myself. What am I
I
doing?
know. And then you guys have stories too.
We've had so many great stories from our community. I was super excited, Crystal, just recently to find out that my friend Darrow was publishing a new book. And I thought, oh, good, a new finance book from a guy. I love reading everything he's written about finance. And surprise, he's not writing finance at all. He's writing about his life hiking.
Ooh, see what a great hodgepodge or great transition too.
It is. You ready to meet him?
Yeah, let's get this show on the road. I think I said now that's twice.
You did say that. You can say it a third time. That's fine.
Drink for every time I say let's get this show on the road, or should we pick a word?
It's up to you. We're going to say hello to him right now, though. Our good friend out in Santa Fe, Darrow Kirkpatrick's here. How are you, man?
I'm great, Joe. Good to be here. Hi, Crystal.
Well, welcome.
So this writing, not something I found from you yet, Darrow. I was pretty surprised, but the book is called Two Sticks, One Path. I know you well enough to know, okay, there's two sticks, right? The sticks that hikers have, and one path that you're going down. But I know that my buddy Darrow usually has more than one meaning when he's titling something. What's the meaning behind the meaning of Two Sticks, One Path?
I can't tell you. It's a spoiler. You've got to read to the end of the book, but you're very perceptive indeed.
It's on the last page.
I suspect you have some inside information there, yeah. But I'm not going to give it away. But yes, there's a double meaning at least.
Oh,
that's fabulous. Okay, was your introduction to hiking really back in 1974 in New Mexico?
That was my first long overnight backpacking trip at Philmont Scout Ranch that's in northern New Mexico, yeah. And that left an indelible impression.
Tell us about that trip. Why did that change everything for Darrow and the world of hiking and backpacking?
Oh, boy. On so many levels. It was my first long time away from home. I was away from home for 2 or 3 weeks. I was out in the Rocky Mountains with some buddies. I'd grown up on the East Coast, so seeing the Rocky Mountains for the first time, I fell in love. They blew me away. These 12 and 13,000 foot peaks, huge spruce trees, rocky summits. I just fell in love with it all. But I had a rough time. I was one of the youngest scouts on the trip. I think I was 14. And we had several days of really bad weather, cold, hail, steady rain. And I wound up getting hypothermia and almost having to bail out, although I was able to finish the trip. And that kind of left a mark on me that I had to work through for the rest of my outdoor life.
I was reading your words, and you're talking about how a buddy of yours is telling you to put more clothes on, and you put on one more T-shirt or something and go, that's all I got.
I had a fair amount, but I had down, and we didn't have great rain gear in those days, so my down jacket got wet, and we just didn't have as good gear, and we weren't as smart about using it.
What are some good trips? And I'm going to stop along the way as we talk about your memoir, Darrow, to just ask questions in general about hiking.
Mm-hmm.
What are some easy ways for a hiker to just stay warm? What are the basic tips around staying warm out on the trail?
Yeah, the basic stuff is layers. You want multiple layers so you can adjust your temperature up and down. You want synthetics that just don't soak up water, that shed water, so you want to stay away from cotton. And you got to stay dry. You have to have a good shell that'll shed water, because if you get wet, it's much harder to stay warm.
I spoke with a guy one time as I was getting ready to hike, actually in Nepal, and he said one of his favorite tricks to trick himself into thinking he's warmer too was to change his socks while he's eating lunch. He said, if my feet feel warm and cozy, like my body feels warm and cozy. Is that just a mind trick, or does that work?
No, I think that's important. I carry 2 pairs of socks. One is the nasty wet pair that I hike in, and the other is the nice dry clean pair that I get to sleep in. And I don't usually change into them during the day, but if I was cold and wet, I might do that. Yeah.
Any particular moments, though, with the Boy Scouts that really stuck with you, hiking with the Boy Scouts?
That trip to Philmont was the peak experience. Just the scenery was incredible. It was physically really hard, and I barely made it through those cold, wet days. But the theme of the book, even though I've had these tough experiences, I just love being outdoors. I keep going back and trying to embrace it and make my peace with it and understand how to be comfortable and happy there, because I love it so much.
Crystal, it's just so
funny.
Opposite.
Yeah. My first camping, my first one, it just turned me away. So then what made you, even if it was when you weren't prepared, all that other stuff, what made you say, you know what, I still like it, I want to do it again?
Oh, I do love being in nature. All those sort of things you can't quite put into words, but that feeling of peace and connection and the scenery. I also really loved the feeling of independence and self-sufficiency. That's a big factor for me. The idea that you could walk into the woods with just 20 pounds on your back and live for several days and not need anything else. I just think that's so cool.
It's funny how this idea of financial independence that you wrote about a lot on your website ties into this independent feeling.
Yeah, you're right. It does. I hadn't thought of that, but it's a clear connection.
And by the way, Crystal, this is the first guest I've ever talked to who said, I almost got hypothermia and I loved it.
Like that. I was a kid. Kids can love pain. They don't know better.
Okay, fast forward to 2015. You're going 20 miles through the mountains. Like what brought this on?
Since those early scouting days, I'd always had a dream of finishing a long trail. My dad and I did big chunks of the Appalachian Trail, but I didn't come anywhere close to finishing it. But I would see these guys out on the trail, these thru hikers, these wiry dudes with long beards and light packs, and just idolize them. They were hiking from Georgia to Maine on the Appalachian Trail. Wow, could I do that someday? And I never did, for a combination of fear, hesitancy, and also I had a 3-decade love affair with rock climbing. I was way more into technical rock climbing than hiking. Get to my early retirement, and it's like time to start checking off the bucket list. I really wanted to finish a long trail. And the Colorado Trail at 500 miles is not the longest, but it is one of the hardest in the country, and it's in my backyard from Santa Fe, so it was the obvious choice.
Can you tell us a little bit about the trail? Why that one?
Oh, it is just gorgeous. I'll argue it's as beautiful as the John Muir Trail, which is probably the top 2 trails for scenery, in my opinion, in the U.S. The Colorado Trail is harder. It's got more climbing. It's got, 89,000 feet, I think, 3 Mount Everest of up and down. And it also averages over 10,000 feet. So it's a really rigorous trail. You've got to deal with high altitude and being above tree line, big climbs up and down of thousands of feet. And there's very little fluff in it. Some of the other long trails have sections that are boring or hard without great scenery. The Colorado Trail is like a greatest hits of Colorado. It's almost all gorgeous and really fun to hike.
It's funny. People even talk about hiking the way in Spain. And we've interviewed our adventurer Tom about that. And he even admitted, Darrow, that parts of that Trail, which is iconic for so many people, goes along highways sometimes, and along railroad tracks and through these really boring, horrible parts of town. You don't get any of that.
I was there a few weeks ago. There's like a 3-mile section of the Colorado Trail that's on pavement. Everything else is trail, and most of it's gorgeously cut, maintained, marked through just unbelievable scenery in the Rockies. So it's got a very high value factor for the miles you walk.
To give people an idea of where it goes, the south end is in Durango, north end is in Denver?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So it picks up several mountain ranges, I think a half dozen wilderness areas. Yeah, it's just nonstop beautiful scenery.
So how do you decide that you're going to attack this trail? You've got this first 20-mile hike, which is going to be 10 miles one day, spend the night, and then 10 miles overall. But as you're planning it out, this is obviously the first foray headed on this huge expedition, this huge adventure over time.
500-mile monster.
Yeah. How are you going to break it up, Darrow?
Yeah, it's pretty clear early on that I'm a section hiker as opposed to a through hiker. The through hikers do it all in one blast, which is phenomenal. I would love to do that. But as the book goes into detail, I've got physical issues that make the hiking harder. I like getting a shower every few days. I can't carry all that much weight. So I broke it up into pieces that were never more than 5 days long, was the longest. And I also did a number of one-day trips, including a little bit of mountain biking. So I was, being an engineer, I was just super strategic. The pieces that I could mountain bike safely, I did that. I would pick the direction that was more downhill, admittedly. But there's some very remote long sections. And like I said, the longest was a 5-day backpack to piece it all together.
That's cool. How did you even find the bike? Or you just plan that all out of where I could pick up a bike or wherever I'm staying that night?
I was able to use my bikes. Yeah. So I've been mountain biking. I was never a great mountain biker, but I know the basics. And so I would arrange shuttles or transportation with friends or my wife and get dropped off with the bike at one end and ride through the other end where maybe my van was waiting for me, something like that. Those were just day trips. I never did an overnight with the bike.
Crystal bikes. Do you bike every day,
yeah,
Crystal?
We talked about that.
Awesome.
Almost. I was telling him I'd bike to the Arlington Cemetery on Sunday.
Yeah.
It was 20
I saw
miles
that. How far is
trip.
that for you? How far was it? 20?
It was 20.3 miles round trip.
Whoa.
It wasn't bad at all. Yeah.
Well, that's a ways on a bike in my book.
But this is cool, Darrow, because for our adventurers who are just getting into hiking, there are several sections where you can just do a fairly, I won't say easy, but you can peel off a day at a time and have a really beautiful, beautiful section of the trail. Oh,
absolutely. Yeah. One that sticks in mind was from Copper Mountain over to Breckenridge. It's a one-day hike, but you go up to 12,000 feet. Just spectacular. One of the most beautiful places I've ever been. And that is one segment of the trail. And I was able to just do it as a day hike. Yeah.
So you got this all plotted out. You've got sections you're going to do mountain bike. You've got sections, section by section laid out. Doesn't sound like an engineer at all, by the way.
Fellow engineer here.
And then you're planning this first 20-mile hike. How do you start training for something like that?
That's tough. It's hard to, because it's such a big block of time. You need to be able to walk all day with weight on your back and go up and down multi-thousand-foot climbs. I think the only way to really train for that is to do it. But you got to ease into it. You don't want to get yourself committed to a 3 or 4 day trip and find out on day 2 you've got blisters and you can't carry your pack. So I would do day hikes in our local terrain around Santa Fe, carry maybe a day pack with extra water, maybe an extra 4 liters of water to add weight. And then I would do some back-to-back day hikes to simulate backpacking. So I'd do a hard day hike with extra weight, and the next day do another day hike with extra weight to just build confidence that I wouldn't get stuck in the middle of nowhere and not be able to finish.
And speaking of confidence too, like even mental, how do you mentally prepare?
That's a big theme in the book, and I've suffered from anxiety my whole life. It was a real problem for a while in my 40s. Kept me from working. And as much as I love the outdoors, being alone as I was sometimes, alone at night, alone in very remote places where you're on your own if something happens, that's part of the message of the book, how I worked through that. But the bottom line is you bite it off in small pieces and to build the strength to deal with those situations. You don't jump into all of it all at once.
The doubt and the frustration, Crystal, that I read, and I'm sure you read too, was, I think it has to be part of something that everybody who's peeling off something this strenuous goes through. Speaking of difficult, so the first day out here on this first 20-mile hike, 10 miles day one, 10 miles day two. Day one sounds like it went awesome. You get up to 10,000 feet and you decide to set up camp. What's the process, by the way? Are there permits that you have to get to set up camp along the trail?
A lot of places there are. That's one of the really nice things about the Colorado Trail, knock on wood, while it lasts. No permits are required. Crowding gets to be an issue. That could change. Okay. Yeah. So it's another bit of freedom you have on the Colorado Trail. There's less paperwork overhead to do it.
So any surprises then, Darrow, that first night on the trail?
Yeah, I almost packed the whole thing in the first night, even though I was a very experienced backpacker. But number one, I was trying this super ultralight gear system that all the really hardcore younger backpackers worked for them, using just the fly, not a tent. So that was a mistake number one. It was a super windy night. You were getting 30 or 40 mile an hour winds through camp. And a fly doesn't come all the way to the ground. So I had these high winds blowing right through. They would grab my sleeping bag and rip it halfway down my body. I'd pull it back up. It was very noisy. I was getting no sleep at all. And then it turned out I'd found this nice spot in a saddle below Mount Shivano, one of the 14,000 foot peaks. And it seemed like a lovely spot, nice sandy campsite. But I noticed there's some footpaths around, and a little surprised. I took one over the knob, and there was a parking area there at the end of a forest road.
Oh, no.
That's trashed. Here I am thinking I'm out in the middle of the wilderness after hiking 10 miles, and there's a parking area right over the knob. There's nobody there. Maybe it won't be a problem. And I'm settling down for the night, and a car pulls up, and the radio's blasting, and people are talking. And here I am trying to have a wilderness experience. They finally settle down, but about, I think it was 3 a.m, some headlights appear over the knob coming towards me. And I'm like, what is this? Are these guys going to hassle me?
I'm about to die. My first night on the trail.
Yeah. What is happening?
Yeah. I'm in the middle of nowhere and I'm going to get robbed or something insane. And they're coming straight towards me. My fly was set up right near this faint footpath. Like, why are they coming at me? And I have pepper spray and my headlamp, and I keep saying good morning, hi, being friendly, and they're not saying anything. Finally, they started grunt hi, march past me, and then I see they've got rucksacks and they have thighs like this, and they're climbers going up to do Shivano. And typically, you get a really early start when you do something like that. So it was no threat at all, but it was a miserable night. I got no sleep and was the basket case in the morning.
Oh my gosh. What does
Darrow was like, I can stay alive so I can talk about this on Stacking Adventures.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Crystal, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I said, so what does it look like for you? Because I know there's different levels of ultralight packing, regular, small, medium, large. So what are you carrying? You just have a sleeping bag to sleep in? Is there a tent? I missed what you're
nowadays
sleeping.
Yeah, it's more about the weight, and there's very sophisticated lightweight gear that I'm able to carry these days. And so I actually use something called a quilt, which is like a stripped down sleeping bag. You don't have a zipper. You don't have the part of the bag underneath you that just gets compressed and doesn't provide any insulation anyway. So it's a way to make a really lightweight sleeping bag that can weigh maybe 1.5 pounds, something like that. And then I have a crazy light tent that only weighs 1 pound, but it's a for real tent that has mosquito netting and covers you all around and underneath. And then my pack also. And all of these things are made with really sophisticated fabrics they have now some of it was invented for sailing, for making sails. So it's super light and super strong. And then just being really rigorous. I have a little postal scale. So I've weighed every single piece of my gear to make sure something wasn't stupid heavy for the benefit it was bringing. And I've got my base pack weight, they call it, down to around 13 pounds.
Wow.
Then add food and water. And some people can get under 10 pounds, but I can't be comfortable with that little weight in terms of my sleeping and all.
I like you mentioned the benefit versus the carry. And then that's another big decision you have to make.
That's right.
What were some of the best things that were beneficial? And what was like a mistake that you made that you brought and you're like, why on earth did I bring this?
Yeah, you go through a lot of that. I'm going to say the thing I most miss in the wilderness is a decent chair, a decent place to sit. And some people do bring camp chairs. There are pretty light ones. I just keep I bring a super light piece of foam, but it's dedicated for me sitting so it can get muddy and nasty. And I have a separate pad that I sleep on. And that lets me have a minimum of comfort in the backcountry. And then I do remember when I initially started weighing my gear, I had some rain pants that weighed like a pound, which is ridiculous. You can't afford to have clothing that's that heavy. So I bought some lighter weight rain pants.
What's your favorite thing to eat out on the trail?
Ooh, good question. Gets to the point where any calories look good to you. Yeah, definitely. But nuts are good. Nuts give me a lot of energy and always seem pretty tasty. Anything chocolate is awesome, but I don't carry much of it because it doesn't stand up to the heat.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Do you ever make side trips into the towns just to get food?
That's more of a through hiker thing. So the people who are
Sure.
hiking the whole distance, when they run out of food, they've mailed themselves food.
I've seen that along the PCT where
Right.
restaurants look like they're made for hikers to come through.
Totally, yeah. And
Wow.
hostels. And those folks doing the really long distances in a continuous stretch, they're having to make side trips into towns to resupply. Once in a great while, I did a piece of the Appalachian Trail a couple of years ago where we went through an outfitter outpost and we got a hot dinner and like ice cream, and oh boy,
Awesome.
that's the best. Yeah. But as a section hiker, I don't experience that as much as the through hikers.
Yeah, because then you have to go to the bathroom.
Always a factor in living outdoors.
But that's
Actually,
different, Crystal, than being in the
men and
car. I
women.
think when you're on the trail, the whole world becomes your outhouse.
Yeah, and I wish people would learn better manners. The whole world is your outhouse, but please take it 50 feet off the trail and don't make me look at your toilet paper. I mean,
You're kidding me, really?
Oh, It's awful, yeah.
Wow.
So nowadays, you pretty much need to pack out toilet paper because animals dig it up and spread it around. People need to bring Ziploc bags and pack that out so the rest of us don't have to look at it. And then you need to do your business in places where people aren't hiking and don't want to walk, so they don't have to stumble across it.
That part, Darrow, seems obvious to me, but people
You
just
would
doing
think.
it right where the trail is
It's very unfortunately common.
Darn.
Yeah, it's sad. I think it's just fear. I think it's people, they're in a strange environment. They don't know how to behave. They're not comfortable going off the trail. But those are the skills.
or they
to
only
develop.
like to poop in public places. They get afraid.
There may be some people like that. I don't know. I scratch my head sometimes. What's going on here?
My goodness.
Let's fast forward to 2016. You're hiking near Santa Fe and something goes wrong. What happens?
That was, the beginning and continuation of a series of injuries. But I was training in the wintertime, hiking in the snow, and I had a really bad ankle sprain in college that never really healed correctly. And so that started acting up. And I found some sophisticated braces and did some taping, was able to keep hiking for a few years. But then I had a worse incident that aggravated a hamstring. And that really laid me up for several months. And that led to a doctor friend recommending I try something called forearm crutches, which is a more ergonomic crutch design than the silly underarm crutches that most of us have used. And that after I recovered from the hamstring injury, that became part of my hiking gear kit. These forearm crutches. They're actually behind me. I can grab one later.
I think you have them on the book cover too, don't you?
They're on the book cover, yep. So those really became essential for me to protect my bad knees, my bad ankles, my recovering hamstring, and they just became part of my hiking routine where I don't even think about it anymore.
That led me to think too about choice of footwear. Is there something special about the footwear you choose?
Mine's a little beefed up. The younger hikers doing the big miles can usually hike in just trail shoes, which look like beefed up running shoes. And I wish I could get away with that, but there's not enough support. There's not enough padding to keep my feet from getting sore, and there's not enough ankle support to keep me from twisting an ankle. So I use these kind of mid-weight, mid-height boots that come partway up my ankle. And then I have a custom orthotics and a heel lift for the plantar fasciitis and a pad on top of it. For me to get out and enjoy this, there's been a lot of gear experimentation.
Darrow, I'm only laughing because I'm training right now for my last marathon. My back is done.
Awesome.
I can't do it anymore. I'm going to go to the bike, but my shoes, like when I'm wearing these special Hoka shoes that are stability shoes, and I have orthotics inside of them. And the left one has a place where I had some undiagnosed stress fractures earlier on.
Ouch.
And so I have this constant swelling on my left foot, and it just, the things that people like you and I will go through just to get the hell back on the trail. As I'm putting all this crap on, I'm like, what am I doing?
It's worth it, though. I mean, aerobic exercise is
It is
critical
worth it.
for your health, especially
Yeah.
as you get older. So I don't begrudge any of it. It's let me have this extra chapter in my life where I could stay active. So I encourage people to do the work and figure out what they need to get out and move and get aerobic exercise.
I love your wife's response to all this. Her name is Caroline.
Caroline.
How did she respond to you just continuing to not really at first take care of this ailment, it sounded like?
Yeah, she was super positive, and she knows I get antsy if I can't get outdoors and move. And the crutches in particular were pricey. They're custom made, but she knew it was essential for my mental health. And she was always very encouraging about me making the investment and the time and the money.
Does she hike with you often?
Sometimes she's got her own injuries she has to deal with, so she can't really do overnights carrying a lot of weight. We've done a few trips together. We actually did an amazing Grand Canyon trip where, because of this lightweight gear, I was able to carry a lot of her gear. So she's a good, strong hiker, but she can't generally carry the weight because of shoulder injuries.
Wow. Little side note. What did you do at the Grand Canyon?
We did an amazing, actually, 4-day trip from Hermit's Rest back to Bright Angel, I think it is.
Wow.
We went down about 3,000 feet and then hiked on the Tonto Shelf for 3 days. Yeah, what an amazing trip, and my only really long trip in the Grand Canyon. Yeah.
I have never done a long trip in the Grand Canyon. Cheryl went with some of our friends. I was actually, Crystal, with you at FinCon. And Darrow, I might have been with you at FinCon as well. If it was the right year, I don't remember what year it was. They went down the river, down the Colorado River on a rafting trip, and it was
that's a different kind of adventure.
It was pretty amazing.
Cool.
It is now 2017.
Oh.
You're finally coming back. You're ready for a 5-mile hike with this 2,000-foot descent. By the way, when I read that, I'm like, are you crazy? Testing out the legs on that. How did that hike go? Yeah, that's right.
This is probably Mullis Pass with Caroline, I'm thinking.
Yes.
Yeah. So my ankle was still nagging me for that hike. But that was the hike that really planted the seed, because the scenery there is just jaw-dropping. And I do have photos, by the way, at trailmemoir.com on my website. But the scenery was just jaw-dropping. We passed a lot of through hikers, people who were doing the whole trail. And a lot of them looked like regular people. They didn't look like hardcore mountain men. And it just really got me thinking, why can't I do this? I've always wanted to do this. I'm a little afraid of it. My body feels wrecked sometimes. So why can't I put it together to make this happen? So it was just a day hike with Caroline, but it was seeing those other hikers that finally got me fired up to figure out how to do this.
It looks like a beautiful day at the beginning. You get down to the bottom of this 2,000-foot descent, and the weather changes. And it seems like, Darrow, it changes aggressively, very quickly. Does that happen a lot on the trail?
Absolutely. It's mountain weather. You can have a day where it hail, sunshine, high wind, sunshine, driving rain, sunshine. So it was one of those days. Kept alternating. Caroline and I got dumped on in the hail, and I was sitting there with water dribbling off my visor on this rock. We were a few miles from the car, and no big deal. We got a little wet. We hiked back to the car. I was thinking, what if we had to camp here and get blasted with this? How would we fix dinner in the rain? And would that be any fun at all? So I was projecting forward to what I might have to face if I tackled the whole trail.
Did you ever have a night like that?
Yes.
And?
Several. It was so exciting, and there was so much going on that I had to focus on just staying alive and getting fed and getting some sleep. And I did have the skills in the toolkit to deal with it when I had to. Yeah.
In the second half.
Yeah, we'll save that for the break.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Crystal. In the second half of today's episode, I want to ask Darrow about wildlife. We'll also talk about tips for our ventures when it comes to hiking, and then some of the magic from the trail. Maybe Darrow's favorite hiking moments of all time, and some best activities.
Yeah.
Training if we want to see.
Training for the weather, and I want to know about the cooking part. Like,
cool. Good questions.
How that happens.
Love to talk about that.
But as you hear the music coming up, Adventures, that means we're halfway through today's show. So I think it's time for a road trip pit stop. The pit stop's always where you're dreaming about what's at the end of the adventure, how cool it'll be when we get there. or pit stops, always a hint at our gear of the day, which are things that either Crystal or I have used ourselves. These are not, it drives me crazy, Crystal. Once I got into the travel community, I'm being pitched all this garbage. And most of it is garbage all the time. And I want to know what really works. Well, these are things that either we've recommended or a guest have recommended. You'll find it all at stackingadventures.com/gear of the day. Darrow, you were kind enough to bring today's gear of the day. You got a hint for us, and we'll give it a shot.
Yeah, I'm wondering how to do this. So just to mix things up, I'm going to show you the gear of the day
and have us guess what the hell it is.
Make you choose and guess. These are both incredible pieces of gear, and I'll give you a quick look. You can pick one in question or guess, or
which one do you want to do, Crystal? The black.
It's a small pouch,
little pouch, like an envelope pouch,
sort of
or a
green
cylindrical
thing. Yeah.
Let's go cylindrical, and I would say both. I want to know. What
I might own the cylindrical thing, but we'll see.
It has to be. Yeah, I have a guess, but
I might have this gear. I think my daughter might have bought it for me. But give us a hint. What is the gray? So for all of our stackers just listening to this, Darrow in your hand, describe that for us. It's a pouch.
This one we're doing?
Yeah, let's do that one.
Yeah.
It's a little pouch.
It's a cylinder. I weighed it. It's 5.6 ounces.
Oh.
And it's this is some of that really high-tech material I was talking about. It's super light. There are several items in here, but it all serves one purpose. But it only weighs it's less than 6 ounces.
All right. Crystal and I are going to guess. We'll be right back in just a moment with our guesses.
I was going to guess a speaker, but circuits are not 6 ounces, so a speaker would be definitely heavier than that.
Oh, but
similar shape though. You're right.
Yeah.
But I'm super ultra light. Would I carry something optional like a speaker?
And
you don't carry a Bluetooth speaker?
This is essential. I can tell you that.
Your own soundtrack?
I hate it. Yeah, I hate it when people are out in nature with a speaker. I'm like, I'm here to hear the birds and the trees rustle and nature, not your songs. Like, I hate the speakers.
Yeah,
I really
hate that.
So
I'm glad it's not a speaker.
Okay, me too. Phew.
I think it's a little tiny portable stove that you can put little things in. We'll see if that's.
I don't think it's a grooming kit. Oh, that's a good guess, Joe.
Yeah. We will see.
So do we out it now, or
we're going to wait?
Okay.
Adventures, you've got your guess. We're going to have that guess in about 15 or 20 minutes for you, Adventures. All right. And you know what, Darrow, while we're at it, I want to know what the other one is too. Because this one I think I might know.
The other one's cool too. Yeah.
The other one I have no clue what the heck that thing is.
They pack a lot of punch for what they are.
All right. Let's chat about just hiking in general, Darrow. Any favorite warm-ups or off-trail workouts that you like to do that get you ready for the road?
Yeah, like I said, just walking and adding weight to my pack. And I like to add water because I can pour it out. If I've overestimated what I'm capable of, I could pour out the water and carry less weight. But I have a couple of 2-liter bottles, they're like 5 pounds each, I guess. So I'll fill them and throw them in my day pack and do a 1,000-foot climb. And that's quite a good workout for preparing for backpacking.
I also wanted to ask you about purifying water, because in your memoir, you talk about finding sources of water and then purifying them. So before I went to Nepal, I went into REI. I found this system that I really like. It was, I think it's called Gravis system. So it was a plastic outer thing with an inner, I'm not going to describe this well, but it's like a big plastic container with another one that fits inside of it. And what happens is you fill up the outer shell and then you slowly take the middle of it and it goes through a filter and it filters the water. And I remember the first time I did this in Hot Springs, Arkansas, Crystal, I thought I was going to die because I'm drinking out of this. It's not a super polluted stream, but it's a stream. It's a stream, and the water was great. Everything was fantastic. But Darrow, I can't imagine you would take something like the Gravis, because listening to you, that's heavy. Like it was just the plastic container was heavy. And I also learned even in Nepal, I'm like, if I were going to pack this again, this thing's way too big for this Nepal hike. How do you purify water?
Yeah, not only that, most of the filter systems can't get viruses, and particularly for overseas travel, you have to be worried about viruses in the water. So
Oh,
you need a system that can get both bacteria and viruses.
Great point. That is,
Yeah.
by the way, specifically why the guy recommended this one.
Okay.
Was because of the fact, but because it gets everything. So
Okay.
I'm like, okay, it weighs a lot more, but it's going to get everything. And I'm in Nepal. Who knows?
Yeah, you want to play it safe. Yeah, so there's tons of different technologies for purifying water, and I have tried most of them, but because of my physical limitations and the difficulty of the trail, I almost always pick the lightest and simplest option. I don't want anything that can break or go wrong. So this relates to one of my gear pieces, but since it's not the main one you chose, I guess I can disclose it now.
Oh, sounds good. Yeah.
Okay, so it's
Is
this
that your
one.
purification?
Believe it or
That
not,
is.
that's water. This weighs an ounce. That's water purification. It's simple, it's idiot proof, it's lightweight, and it gets both bacteria and viruses.
wow.
I did
So this pouch,
repackage it.
everybody, this pouch is about the size of my index finger. Just looking
Right, it's
at
just
you.
a couple inches square. It weighs an ounce. I repackaged it. The product's called Aquamira, and all long-distance hikers know about this, but it's a chemical that comes in a 2-part solution, and you mix them together, wait 5 minutes, and put roughly 10 drops into a liter of water, and wait a half hour, and it kills all the bad stuff. And it's idiot-proof, lightweight. I've never gotten sick using it, and it doesn't have a nasty taste or anything. So for me, for a long-distance hiker that wants to keep things simple, I've found this to be the best solution, Aquamira.
Cool.
Wow. And that also gets viruses.
It gets viruses too if you leave it long enough. Yeah.
Too. Where were you before I went to Nepal?
He was here. Are you also practicing in different weather? Was that important, or do you think that's important to not only just go out on sunny days, or only go out when it's partly cloudy, or when it's beautiful weather?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think it is important. A lot of the Colorado trails are above tree line. And if you get caught in a nasty storm, the number one skill you've got to master is getting your tent set up in high winds and getting in there quickly if you're getting soaked with freezing rain, because it's the only shelter you've got. And honestly, just getting your rain gear on in high winds is something to practice and be able to do without any threat of losing a piece of clothing or something. So I think that's a really good point. And I was always concerned with making sure my rain stuff was on the outside of the pack, my tent was on the outside of the pack, so I could get to those things quickly. And I did practice it a little bit before actually needing to use it.
What about lightning above the tree line?
Yeah, that's a serious concern. I've studied that quite a bit, actually, even recently, because I don't have a lot of expertise in it. And my observation, the statistics are actually not that bad. It's pretty hard to get hit by lightning, but I can tell you when you're up there in alpine terrain, there are no trees, the lightning's going for the high points, you have no shelter. It is really scary, and you don't want to be there. You want to get off of the high places, the high ridges, if there's any lightning in the vicinity, definitely.
I wanted to ask about, you're a guy that I know from your website. I'm sure that you have scoured the web for kind of the best places. On my phone, I'm not a hiker anywhere near to the degree, Darrow, that you are. But when I go to a new area, I always pull up All Trails. Like All Trails is for me a great resource, but you must have 50 of these. Are there any websites, books, or tools that you really rely on heavily that most of our people getting into hiking would love to hear about?
Yeah, there's one that all the long-distance hikers use called Far Out, and it is an app that's specifically geared to the trail you're hiking. So you get the base app, and then you buy modules for all the major trails. And the critical thing about that is that it's a community-driven reports on trail conditions, and most specifically water. Water is the number one thing you'll be concerned about doing a long hike, and you can carry a ton of it and be safe, but it's really heavy and will slow you down. So if you have intelligence reports from fellow hikers further down the trail saying, yes, this spring is running, or this creek is running, or no, this one's dried up, then you can be very strategic about not having to carry a lot of extra water. And that has been critical so many times. It's even though I'm out there alone often, I'm really relying on fellow hikers for those water reports.
So service is good out there.
It's spotty,
Kinda.
but these
Mhm.
GPS apps work without a cell signal.
Got it.
So
Okay.
you download your maps ahead of time, and the GPS doesn't require cell signal, so it can show you where you are on the trail. But those water reports, those you'd have to download when you're in town or when you have a cell
Got
signal.
it.
Most of us, I think, in our community are happy to, if we have mobility, to try to get out even on some of the little trails at a national park or at a state park or a metro park and see a little bit of wildlife. I want to hear about some of the wildlife, Darrow, that you saw hiking, maybe expected and fun and maybe not so fun.
Yeah, a lot of cool stuff, but I guess the most notable one was when I was finishing a 3-day trip late in the evening, trying to get to my car, beautiful area near Kenosha Pass. I'd had dinner. It was starting to get dark. Excuse me. I just had a couple miles to the car, and I was on this tight ridge, and I heard this noise off to my left, and it was a bull moose. And he was he was maybe 30 feet away from me or something. The guy, he's over my head. His head's over my head, and then he's got antlers on top of that. And he wasn't keen on me being there. He started huffing and snorting. And I really had to, the way the trail worked, he was ahead and a little off the trail. So I was going to have to walk right by him to get to my car, or else spend another night out, which I wasn't planning on. And there was a patch of aspen trees which grow really thick. And I figured if he came at me, I could probably get in those trees and he wouldn't be able to get me. But this thing weighs, they're like 1,200 pounds or something.
Yeah.
They're like a pickup truck.
And just for a second there, Darrow, I was in Ontario on a fishing trip with my dad, and we were in one of my dad's buddies' F-150s. And out of the forest next to us, we're on this road, comes this moose. And Darrow, when you say it's the size of a pickup truck, he was at eye level with us. I mean, and I'm in an F-150, and this thing, an F-150 would have been totaled if it would have hit this moose. And the moose is, I've never in my life driven in a truck next to a moose, like just running down the road next to our truck. But yeah. So when I think people sometimes think people are using hyperbole when they say this is the size of a truck. Darrow, you're not kidding.
No, they're enormous. Yeah, and they don't eat people. They're not predators, but they're big, and the males are territorial and they don't want you close to them. So I had to make the decision and admit I felt like there was enough room to squeeze by this guy. So I moved out, which I can do pretty quickly, even with my crutches. And he made some more noises and took a few steps toward me, but I was able to get past him and on down the trail. And I even turned and got a bad photo of him, but I was able to sneak past and get down the trail before he got too worked up. But I realized,
do you talk to him like they tell you to do with bear? Do you talk to him while you're going around him?
Yeah, I don't know if that would have been a good idea or not. He did not like the look of me, so I don't know if he would have liked my voice necessarily.
Right. Oh, man. I come in peace.
All right, bear?
I have some magic capability to never see a bear. And it's partly that I keep a really clean camp and I don't do anything that attracts them to my campsite. But I have never seen a bear on a backpacking trip. I've seen them from the car. So it's a good thing that I don't see bears.
But if you're making food at night, how do you, when you go to bed, because the few times that I've done any tenting at all in areas like Shenandoah National Park or a couple times out west, I often worry that a bear is going to show up. I'm thinking about a time at Yellowstone. I thought that we might have a visitor at night. How do you keep it so that the bear wants nothing to do with your tent site?
Yeah, a bunch of techniques that should just be standard procedure, but you don't want to eat in your tent. You don't want food in your tent. You don't want those smells in there. You want to try not to eat or cook near your tent. I think the recommendation is 50 feet away. So whenever possible, I try to go to an adjacent campsite or area. A routine that I love that I often do is I'll have an early dinner around 5 or 6 on the trail and then hike another few miles before I set up camp and go to sleep. So there's no food odors around my camp. And then there are different techniques. There you can use a hard-sided canister to store your food. I have this sort of Kevlar or sack, it's called, which is a little lighter weight, but it's more or less animal-proof. So you want to store anything that smells, food or any toiletries you've got that smell. You want to hang them or secure them in one of these containers, especially if you're in bear country.
Speaking of smells, skunks?
I don't think I've encountered one. Yeah, I've counted plenty around our neighborhood and that sort of thing.
Yeah, we have them all over here. I'll just be out running or walking early in the morning, Darrow, which is why I asked. And I remember a couple times where I caught a skunk unaware, which is something you don't want to do.
Don't want to surprise them.
Yeah, not at all.
I had one in the Grand Canyon, now that you mention it.
A skunk in the Grand Canyon?
I bumped into one in the Grand Canyon, and it was having a spat with the squirrel, and that squirrel later came over and gnawed a hole in one of the pockets of my pack. So he was in a bad mood.
Wouldn't you be in a bad mood if you had just messed with a
definitely
with a skunk?
That's something I didn't think about, like perfumes and like my regular lotions. That's a no-go.
That's a no-go, at least for spending the night. I don't know if I'd lose sleep about it on a day hike, but those smells can attract bears, yeah.
All right, and I would be remiss if I didn't ask about our number one out west animal that Crystal Cheryl loves. This animal. We had no idea what it was, Darrow. The rangers actually laughed at us after we came in. This was at Yellowstone, and we came in and we're describing this thing. We're like, we think it might be like a small badger, maybe a weird looking Wolverine. And they go, no, that's a marmot. We had, being from Michigan, I'd never seen a marmot before. But Crystal, do you know what a marmot is?
No.
Yeah, Darrow, do you see marmots along this trail?
Absolutely. Yeah. If you get above tree line and rocky terrain, you're almost in the Rockies, you're almost surely going to see marmots. And they have a lot of personality. They're really feisty. They'll sit up. Yeah, they're like a gopher size thing. They'll sit up on the rocks and scold you. They will raid your food too if you leave your food.
Oh, they will?
Yeah,
Oh.
That's another reason to have one of these sacks or containers, because any kind of rodents on the trail, I've had way more trouble with rodents than bears. They'll come after your
interesting.
food. Yeah. But marmots have a lot of personality. They're fun to see.
I think the one a lot of people worry about, and we got a great education and a ranger program at Great Basin National Park on this, is the mountain lion.
Yeah, I would love to see one. I've never seen one in the wild.
But would you love to see one? Because I've heard you only see one when it wants you to see it, and then it might not be your day.
That's what I've heard too. Yeah. Yeah, mixed blessing, but still such a cool animal to see one in the wild. And they're so stealthy. They're so careful of humans. The chances of an attack are very small. Of course, it'd be nice to see one heading away from me. But
sure.
Yeah, I have never seen one in the wild.
I think more common would be coyotes.
Very common. I see those in our neighborhood. Yeah, many evenings on
where
my
you live, and
walk.
you're in Santa Fe.
Santa Fe, yeah.
So you carry mace. What else for protection, I would say?
That's all. I do carry pepper spray. Yeah, seems smart. It's very lightweight, doesn't harm anything permanently, so it's always seems smart to me.
Humane.
I do want to talk, before we say goodbye, Darrow, I do want to talk about the environmental aspects, because I know that's really important to you. It always frustrates me when, as a guy that tries to help build walking trails and beautiful spaces in our hometown, when I see people just trash it, it drives me crazy. But also environmentally, the impact that we're having on some of these beautiful places is substantial. Can you speak to that for a minute?
Yeah, I couldn't help but notice these issues on the trail because you're in such beautiful terrain, but it's really suffering. It's suffering in small ways when you see some toilet paper or a bottle or food wrapper. And then it's suffering in some major ways. You see the kind of damage that grazing does to our public lands. It's mind-blowing that we still think that's a good use of our public lands. The cattle can really make a mess of some beautiful alpine meadows and water sources. And the other thing you can't miss in the Rockies is the beetle-killed trees. So I was just last week in an area in southern Colorado where nearly 100% of the high-altitude spruce trees are dead from spruce beetle. And that's because of the environment getting out of whack, because of the planet warming up. These beetles don't get killed, their populations swell. And I stood at Spring Creek Pass in the southern Rockies, and I could spin 100 degrees and not see a live spruce tree. And I'm looking at hundreds of square miles of dead alpine forest. And that's a warning sign. Something's not right when we've got that many trees dying. So you can't miss it. And it's dangerous backpacking because you're having to camp under these dead trees and they're starting to come down. And that's very dangerous.
That was another worry for the wind and the storms, not lightning, but a falling tree.
That's right. Yeah, it's definitely a threat. And you can't get away from them on parts of the Colorado Trail. There's so many.
That's just the beginning. We went over maybe the first 25 pages of Darrow's incredible memoir, Two Sticks, One Path, which I think, Darrow, is available everywhere.
Amazon, Kindle, and paperback. Yep.
And what's the main takeaway you hope people, as a guy who, when I wrote my book, I definitely had a North Star about what I wanted people to take away from my book. What do you hope people take away from Two Sticks, One Path?
It's about reaching your dreams, no matter what stands in the way and no matter what stage of life you're at. This was a lingering bucket list item for me, but I had a lot of fear around doing it and also some physical limitations. And it's about how I worked through that and accomplished something that I wanted to do since I was a kid. And I hope people are inspired by it and can see ways to apply it to their life, whatever they want to achieve.
I love it.
All right, Crystal, the music's coming back up, which means time for our Gear of the Day reveal.
The reveal.
Crystal thought it might be a cooking set.
No, you did.
I think it might be a stove.
Oh, okay.
You're partly right.
Oh.
Is this the reveal?
Joe? Yes.
Okay, yeah. So you're partly right. It's a complete stove and cook kit that's less than 6 ounces. So
unbelievable.
It's a titanium pot. It's also a mug. So it's got handles so you can drink out of it. And then inside of it is Esbit stove. It's a solid fuel stove, which is the simplest, lightest stove you can have. That's a little tripod-shaped thingy.
Hold that up a little higher because we did not see that. Yeah.
So this burns a solid. Can you see that?
Yeah.
It burns a solid fuel tablet like that, and that can boil a liter of water in 10 minutes, something like that.
So how do you bring like soups and stuff like that?
Right. Yeah. Or dehydrated food that you just need to add hot water to.
How do you light that?
A lighter, small lighter.
Just bring a small lighter.
Yeah, it's a white chemical that's just a solid fuel, and it, like I said, you can boil a liter or two of water. And then I have a folding spoon. So that's my super light cook kit. I have a slightly heavier one for maybe wintertime when I need more warm food. But yeah, for under 6 ounces, you can prepare food and eat it. It's amazing.
Great.
See, that fuel source, Darrow, is different than the ones that I was thinking of, where I've seen that you take just leaves and whatever from the surrounding area, pack them really tight and do that. This is much more compact or more environmentally friendly. Like, why that one versus the other?
A little bit safer because you don't have as much stuff burning. Yeah. More compact. You could use it in areas where you don't have wood down, say above tree line or desert terrain, that kind of stuff.
It's like a Swiss Army mug. Like the things you can do with that.
Yeah.
It's a mug, it's a pot, it's a soup bowl. It's all the above.
Yeah. So anyway, fun little lightweight gear. Yeah.
That's fabulous.
You're going to use the cup you're cooking in. Even better. Yeah.
Save weight. So got to carry it in and carry it out.
We will link to Two Sticks, One Path on our show notes page at stackingadventures.com. And Crystal, how do people find... We don't have either pieces of these Gear of the Day. I can't wait to add these.
I know. That is exciting. I plan on hiking with a person that has the cooking set. I don't need one of my own.
Let them carry the weight.
Exactly. Head to stackingadventures.com/Gear of the Day or GOTD for
it's like gear. It's like a friend with a boat, Crystal. Not a friend with a boat, a friend with a cooking set.
Yeah, you don't want a boat. You want a friend with a boat.
When Darrow says, I like hiking, and Crystal responds with, I like glamping, we know where
my head is at.
We know where people are at.
Yeah.
Okay, adventurers, it's up to you now. After hearing Darrow's story about hiking, tell us about hikes that you've gone on. Yeah. What are some of the adventures that you've had exploring either in America or around the world? I'd love to hear some of your hiking stories.
So head to stackingadventures.com/mystory and you can record up to 5 minutes of fun telling us your story. And if you get cut off, do another 5 minutes. We want to hear from you.
We do. And we'll be doing that adventure story in the next few weeks. All right. Thank you so much again, Darrow, for joining us today.
Pleasure meeting you.
Thank you, Joe and Crystal. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it.
Yeah.
We'll see everybody next time. Let's go stack some adventures.